we are only number 2 with the free trade area. So and because it has to start from there.
Yeah.
And thank God we've skipped stage 1. So we are stage 2. Nigeria joining is big because now South Africa was already there, Kenya was already there, Ghana. So with Nigeria in, the rest will have to rush in.
Yeah.
And everybody's trying to be the deadline of the AU.
Yes.
Because I think it'll be the trendy thing to be in.
Yes.
So everybody I think is trying to work towards
being in the agreement. Free trade, I mean, how important is free trade to economic development? Because look at the EU, for instance, free trade, single currencies, teething issues here and there, but overall it's a beneficial thing.
It is.
You talk about Africa, for instance, and Africa has been considered to be the least intra-trader.
Yes.
The least intra-trader.
Yes.
And I've been in forums where this has been cited constantly. Africa needs to start trading with itself.
Yes.
And that's where because I think it's very historical. We go back to colonial times. Africa was where the colonial masters sat in Berlin, in Germany in the 1880s, late 1880s, to divide Africa.
Yes.
Consequently, the various regions that were based on the colonial master power, you got the British, the Anglo zones, the Franco zones, they've tended to trade with their colonial masters. So I'll give you an example. For instance, if I'm going to West Africa, I have to buy my tea, carry tea, because I wish I could find Kenyan tea and the supermarket shelves in Nigeria, for instance. I can't find them. I've got to carry them from here. But how important, just talk us through, how important is intra-trading?
You see, trading, first and foremost, should start with your neighbor going outwards.
Yeah.
But I think for us, we do it the other way. We'll trade with somebody who's very far, and they are the Americans, the Europeans, and the Asians, and leave out our neighbors here.
Yeah.
Now, what free trade does is that it enables countries to fully optimize their comparative advantage.
Yes, that's true.
Because when you have a comparative advantage, something means that you can produce it better than everybody else. But tariff kills that. Because yes, I've been able to produce it at X amount per unit, but they've loaded Y on it.
Yeah.
So and that benefit goes away.
That doubles the cost.
But now the moment it's a free trade, it means if I produce it at X, I'm going to sell it at X in Nigeria, at X in Morocco. The only cost being the cost of transportation.
Yes.
Then it
which is minimal.
For big consignments. Now, if you look at Africa, we were by design as based on colonization. We have the Maghreb, the Arab world at the top.
Yeah.
We have the ECOWAS, the West African brothers. Yeah. Then we have our PTA and Central Africa here with us.
Some zones which keep overlapping trade zones.
And then now we have SADC at the bottom. We have the Franc, people who speak French, others speak English, others speak Portuguese, and others speak
Spanish.
Yes. So and for that reason, trade becomes a problem. Because for you to trade, you must be able to communicate. Communicate language. Language is a problem. So that's why he is struggling to decide, do we do Kiswahili, do we do English? That is also a debate because we have to have a common language of communication. Number 2, the standard of our railways must be the same. Our railways don't talk to each other.
Yeah.
You reach a border, the railway either expands or becomes smaller.
Yeah.
Because if we had a single gauge, let's say if we say stay third gauge, everybody's needing will be 1 meter. Then the whole of Africa. That means I can do a train ride from here to Yaoundé.
To Dakar.
Or to Dakar. But now you'll reach there, you have to come out. Because the gauge Tazara is on is not the gauge we are. Probably now is the SGR, but the previous one could not get into Tazara.
So then access to market becomes a problem.
Yeah, becomes a problem. So and our roads. So but now the moment we have a free trade, and then now free movement of people.
Yeah.
Because don't forget, labor is a factor of production.
It's a factor, a very significant.
Like now, the way we have a lot of Kenyans who are who are willing to work and don't have work. The other countries who have the opposite problem.
I've seen that.
Yes.
Our neighbors, for instance, Rwanda have huge skills gap. Significant.
They do. You see, Kenya human capital will not be a problem anytime soon.
Yes.
So we can be net exporters
of labor.
Of labor.
Skilled labor, for instance.
Yes. And you can see even now the diaspora earnings are a function of capital, of human capital.
Yes.
It is exported. So actually our biggest export is human capital. Even bigger than tea and tourism.
Yeah.
So what you're saying for Africa, we need to be able to talk to each other in the same language. Move our movement needs to be seamless.
Yes.
Then like now with that agreement, any African traveling within Africa should receive their permit on arrival. Call it visa, call it stamp, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But basically, they are just allowed to enter. And I think Kenya has already implemented that.
Yeah.
Any African coming to Kenya is allowed, but many countries have not. And I think that's one of the biggest agenda, because once we do that, then now we open our skies.
Yeah.
Because like now, if you want to go to most of the Maghreb countries or Senegal,
Sorry.
you'll find you probably not do a direct route. You probably may have to go to Europe.
Yeah.
Or go via Dubai.
Yeah, I've heard of stories where I've been in West Africa. I heard stories where
Yes.
if you wanted to move from Yaoundé to Lomé,
Yes.
you had to take Air France.
You go to Paris, then come back. Yeah.
Then come back to Lomé.
It is that ridiculous.
Yes.
And those things will continue to happen until if we open our skies, because everybody is protecting their skies, but we are all holding a small queen cake and want a whole of it.
Yeah.
Whereas we could have a very big pie, and then have a big slice of it.
Okay.
So let's expand this pie, because Africa, don't forget, we're talking about easily
$1
trillion
Yeah.
in resources on the very lower side.
Yeah.
So, and don't forget also, even weather-wise, it's the only continent that can feed itself.
Yeah. We actually,
Yes.
even if you read some
Even if we close everybody out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the worry of everybody else.
I mean, the DRC alone can produce
Yes,
enough food.
but you see again,
supply the
you can see what goes on there.
Yeah.
So some of these initiatives, I think, in the long run,
Yeah.
we will go very far, because you see, we were already at free trade. Now, if we graduate to customs union, where we say, again, now our tariffs are the same. Now we've already ring-fenced ourselves. Now going to monetary union will be very easy.
Yeah.
Go to single currency.
Yeah, that should be our next. But before we take a small break, which is
Yes.
Ahead of the market close, because East Africa is the East African community, which is EAC,
Yes.
is often cited as the biggest intra-trading region. I mean, what are some of the relations that East EAC can actually set?
You see EAC.
Why is EAC the top intra-regional trader?
You see, if you look at, like for example, if you look at Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and then now Rwanda is in.
Yes.
Despite that heavy trading, there's still a lot of suspicion among us. Goods don't move freely. If you go to Namanga here, you'll see that very openly. So we are still far. We are doing well, but we could do much better.
Much better, yes.
Much better.
Yes.
Now you imagine that this on an African scale.
That would be big.
It will be big. Yeah. And you see, and then some of these fears that we have about each other will start coming down. Because sometimes when you interact with someone, so some of the fears you have about them go away.
Yes.
Because they're not informed by truth. And they're informed by perceptions.
And you demystify some of those fallacies and mysteries and everything else. And it becomes more easy to open up. Yes. Single currencies, EAC, we've been trading with each other for long. I mean, there's been a talk. It's been the pipeline for some time. Single currencies in East Africa?
You see, we're trying to skip. You see, in Africa, what we have, in East Africa, EAC, we are somewhere in between preferential trade area and free trade. We're somewhere in between there.
Actually, yes, you're right.
We're stuck somewhere in. We've not completely left PTA, and we've not arrived at FTA. We're somewhere in between there. So talking about monetary union, we've not even done customs union yet. So we are far, because first of all, we have to agree that we are a free trade area. We move, goods move, and people move freely. Then now we can talk about, now let's charge a common to all of us. So until we agree to this, I think
we're jumping. We're jumping something. But something else that I want to ask you is, down south. I mean, East Africa going down south. We have a lot of overlapping preferential trade areas.
We do, like SADC.
PTA.
Yes.
We have SADC.
Yes.
We have I don't know what. We have about, I think we have EAC. We have Tanzania, member of SADC, but a member of EAC, but a member of PTA.
And now it becomes a problem.
Yes.
When two PTAs, preferential trade areas, overlap.
Yes.
Then they work against each other, because preferential means there's a tariff.
Yes.
So this one charges this one. So that means you always charge what works for you.
Yeah.
Every time this works for me, you pull this card. Like Tanzania pulls that a lot. When it suits them, they'll say they're part of SADC, and there's nothing you can do, because they're part of a protocol.
Yeah.
So PTA is very tricky. But if they were in an FTA, it would not matter, because FTA, every goods and humans move freely. So whether you overlap them or not will not really matter.
So you see, I think we'll take a short break for the market, but the next question when we come back is, do you see the continental free trade area collapsing all these overlapping. But let's take that after break because the market is closed. Let's take the closing bell. We come back for more discussions. Welcome back. We are talking free trade matters. We have with us Abraham Kamau, the CEO of Mirada Capital, taking us through this. Abraham, before we went on break, we were talking about, discussing the overlapping preferential trade areas of the PTA and members being in terms of most of those. And case in point is Tanzania being a member of PTA, being a member of SADC, and pulling each card whenever it feels necessary or it suits them. Do you think that the continental free trade area that is in place right now will collapse all this?
I think it will, and I think how it will do it is that one, because people are normally resistant to leave those kind of agreements.
Yeah.
They'll first try push them from being PTAs into FTAs.
Yeah.
Because when that happens, at least whether people take forever to move, the impact is minimal.
Yeah.
But when they're at PTA, there are serious implications in terms of tariff.
Yeah.
Because they are now stuck between two, a PTA and an FTA. So even if they move, because even the continental one is an FTA, if they move these ones, all the regional ones to be FTAs, then at least now the overlap is only academic.
Yeah.
But it will not have tariff implication.
Yeah.
But eventually, I think they'll follow.
Yeah.
Because now if you're in an FTA that does exactly what the bigger one does, then I think it will just die a natural death.
Or the PTAs will just...
Yeah, because now the FTAs now, like ESC becomes a pure FTA, it will be doing exactly what the bigger one is doing. So we'll keep focusing on the bigger one, and then this one will just die.
Yeah, and then the ESC FTA will just die.
Because we will just be keeping it, otherwise we'll keeping it just for legacy reasons.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and tell me about... so the next thing is you said that as we progress at the tail end, we also have the common currency.
Yes, because we have to go into a customs union where now our borders have the same tariff to come in. Now the whole of we draw a big wall around Africa, and you say to get into Africa, this is the tariff, no matter where you get it from. Yeah. And then now once that settles, then now you can go into monetary union, where now we have a single central bank. Yeah. And then with one currency. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk value addition, Abraham. Yes. Africa is generally an exporter of primary products, right? We export them in raw form. And the biggest conversation in a number of firms have been is how does Africa start to create value for its products? How do we start to create value for our coffee instead of taking it to the Europe or for the UK, for it to come back as processed Nescafe? Because obviously you realize that we can't, even as we trade with ourselves, we can't export raw coffee, for instance, to Cameroon. We will add more value if you're exporting processed coffee in a Nescafe format to Cameroon. How does Africa tackle this issue of value addition?
You see, once you put this issue of the FTA to bed, then then what will happen is Africa becomes one market. So basically, you're talking about $1 trillion market. So it's very easy now to bring in the Nescafes to produce their coffee from here or from various points, the coffee growing areas, because they know to start with, they have a 52-country market. Yeah. With no restrictions to movement of those commodities. People. So now, and it will go for everything. Your Peretram, you bring the Johnson & Johnson, the kits. So every other, and as a policy, none of our products will leave here at all, because we'll have a market for each of them in value-added form. Yeah. And you can imagine what that will do to the country, to the economy of Africa, and of the producing country.
Yes, absolutely. But Africa also, I mean, I give an example of, like, for instance, Ivory Coast and Ghana, the two largest producers of cocoa in the world. Yes. And between the two of them, producing about 60% of cocoa production in the world. I mean, they've been talking about having an OPEC for cocoa between the two of them, because the two giants. Yes. How do you get these guys to start producing their own chocolate and bring it to Nairobi? Because one of the biggest arguments that cost of doing business generally in Africa is still high. How do we bring down our cost of doing business? Especially you start with things like infrastructure, movement of products, and also energy.
You see, the good thing with this free trade, it doesn't stop at tariffs. Yeah. You're talking about humans can move freely, the space is open, the airspace.
So the skills transfer.
Yeah, so that means airspace, you have passenger and you have cargo. So you can move your cargo easily around. Now, for those two countries you've mentioned, the West African countries, they produce 60% of the cocoa. So the problem is most of our African products, our African commodities, it is the buyers that determine the price, not the producers.
Yes.
You see, with oil, it is the producers that determine price.
Actually, you're right.
And they also even determine price by determining the quantities they produce.
That's true.
So, and they sit, and it's a cartel, and they don't hide it. For oil, it has, the name is OPEC.
The middle.
It's all known to all of us.
Yes.
And they'll tell you we're going to restrict supply, and they don't hide. So if these guys are controlling 60%, they can say from today, if you don't come and produce it from here, then you don't get it at all.
In fact, the latest from the two West African countries, they've actually agreed to fix a minimum price.
Yes,
for
they
a
can
ton of cocoa.
for starters.
Yes.
But now they can incentivize and tell people, if you produce it from here, we'll sell it to you cheaper. And you'll see what will happen.
Yeah.
All the companies will move from Switzerland
and
go there and produce the cocoa from there.
Yeah.
And their market is there. Don't forget, and they still have the European market intact.
Yeah.
And again, thanks to the free movement of the free movement, air movement, it's very easy to ship.
Yeah.
Yes.
Actually, I remember Nigeria in 2016 when they had the currency crisis.
Yes.
And the Central Bank of Nigeria actually moved in to restrict importation, actually not even restrict, to ban importation of 41 items.
Yes.
And they said these items, they are very unnecessary, and included, Nigeria used to import tons and millions of tons of Thai rice in Nigeria itself.
Yes.
It's a big producer of rice.
Yes.
And the Central Bank said you no longer allow importation of rice.
Yes.
And part of it, the intention was to actually bring some stability in the FX market. But they ended up achieving a lot with it, actually. For instance, I could tell you, when I was in Nigeria that time, the Temis, which is a US conglomerate producing corn, has actually had to move production to Nigeria.
Yes.
That helps. Because Nigeria is a big market for them.
Yes.
They had to actually shift the production to Nigeria.
Because
how important it is.
Whenever the producer is king.
Yeah.
But for agricultural produce, I don't know how this thing was done, including coffee.
The middlemen.
Yeah, coffee. All these things are controlled by the buyers.
Yeah.
It is not there, because like if you see, like for coffee, the IOC is constituted of buyers, not of sellers. And the guys who actually decide how much coffee, a kilo of coffee is going to cost. So when Africa comes in as a group, we are selling our coffee as one. Because see, we can actually have all our coffee into one.
Yeah.
So I think for me this move is brilliant.
Yeah.
In terms of taking us where we want to go. Because the moment we all keep in our silos, in our small
the silo system.
The small silos.
The small silos.
That's why no wonder they come, and they come for us all the time. Because they put in that silo, they work on you separately, they put on that silo, they work on it separately. But if you're all together, then you have one voice, $1 trillion voice.
That's $1 trillion, and that's very significant, because then Africa can actually negotiate, as a free trade area, they can negotiate a block deal.
Yes.
With some of the trading measures like the EU.
Yes, and
coming out of the EU.
And this block will be the largest in the world. It will surpass the EU. It will surpass the American one.
Yeah.
So it's
the NAFTA.
The
NAFTA 2.0.
Yes. So it's something that when I look forward, I think it's what we've been waiting for.
Yeah. I think, for instance, if you look at Nigeria, is doing a 600,000 barrels per day refinery, being sponsored by Dangote.
Yes.
We can actually look forward to Kenya buying refined products from Nigeria, as opposed to buying Maban products from Abu Dhabi. And
you see, with Nigeria now, where Nigeria is located geographically, we may not have even an aviation ship. We'll just do good pipelines.
Yeah.
And we'll be able to refine and export processed, not necessarily buy it crude.
Yeah.
Yes.
The processed one.
Yeah, so that
so
you start to have a policy of everybody is adding value to whatever they're producing before they sell it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the only way you maximize value.
Yeah.
Otherwise, value is transferred to the people who don't produce. Switzerland now is the biggest chocolate manufacturer, and they don't grow a single tree of cocoa.
They don't. They absolutely. They get all from Ivory Coast and Ghana.
You see.
They don't.
Yeah.
And even French, the French chocolate.
Yes.
They don't.
So I'm saying, so Africa, I think this will awaken a lot of things.
Yeah.
Even our minerals, how they're exploited will change.
The mineral is a classical case.
Yes,
it will be dramatical.
Case. Because see, like now, anything that is extractive, depending on the policy a country has, they can use that to take them to the next level where the economy does not depend on that extracted material. Because anything extracted has an exhaust by date.
Yeah.
So what you do...
It's finite.
Yes, it's finite. So anything that is finite, you ensure that by the time it runs out, your economy is has already taken off.
Yeah.
On another platform.
On another platform.
And on a platform of trade.
Dubai classic.
Yes, Dubai is classic.
Dubai
does not need oil now.
Yeah.
Dubai is purely trade.
And an aviation hub.
Yes.
And you think that if you, for instance, talking about aviation, let's talk about open skies.
Yes. You see, for a long time, Africans, everybody has closed their skies.
Yes. Which is ridiculous.
Yeah, and this has created ridiculous scenarios.
Yeah.
Where if I want to go to a North African country, I have to go to Europe and then come down, or go to Dubai, then go. Or if I use Africa, I do maybe 6 stops. I'm hopping, and it will take me 3 days.
Yeah.
Whereas, and you find the only reason that there's no direct flight is because those two countries don't have an agreement to open their skies between them. But imagine a scenario where now we open our skies with this agreement, whereby the protocol is very clear. If I want to know, if I want to fly to a certain country, the conditions are pre-agreed, and they are not onerous. Then we'll have, even in terms of tourism, the biggest beneficiary would be tourism.
Yeah.
Because when humans
we need to have
for leisure,
yes, yeah.
when people can move easily for leisure,
yeah,
then it becomes easier to make money from tourism.
Yes. I mean, I was in Lome, for instance,
yes.
and some of my hosts, they want to do a safari in Kenya. Yes. It's something they've heard about.
Yes.
Go see the wildebeest migration, which is currently going. But when they think about the movement, coming from Lome to Nairobi, it's onerous.
It's a long haul. Actually, yes. it may take them longer than somebody coming from Toronto.
Yeah. I flew from Lome to Addis and Addis to Nairobi. That's a total of about 8 hours.
Yes.
That's the flight time to London.
Yes, you see. So,
and the cost?
Yes.
The cost.
I'm sure the cost must be higher than a Nairobi-London trip.
Yes. I tell you.
Because they know they're the only ones doing that trip.
Yes.
So you take it or leave it.
But also, how much of aviation politics is into that prohibitive cost? And I'm talking about aviation politics, taxation.
You see, with the
overflying tax,
because it's a fact of all those things. One is demand and supply.
Yeah.
If that route they are the only ones, they'll charge whatever they want.
Yeah.
But also they have to factor in their landing fees,
yes,
their parking fees,
the overflying fees.
But now you see all those fees. Okay, the landing and parking will remain, but the overfly fees will go away.
But why should countries charge overflying fees?
You see, again, as I'm telling you,
it's a very legacy issue.
It's legacy, and also it is very short-sighted, because you're basically you're milking something that is dying.
Yeah.
But if you allow many planes to overpass you, then some of them will dock in, and so
fuel there.
Yes. Just make your money on landing, and also those landing fees also should also not be onerous, because there's some countries where the landing fees are ridiculous.
Yes,
but because you need to go to those countries, you have to put up those costs.
Look at the EU, for instance, on aviation. They've opened it up. You even have no frills, low budget airlines that have built a name on just low fare charges and operating within the EU.
Yes.
Low taxes, low regulation. You can't think about having budget airlines in Africa operating within Africa. I mean, the other day, Jambo Jet wanted to fly to Burundi, and you remember? I'm sure you read.
Yes, I did, and they said they want the KQ one.
Yes,
I saw. You see,
they even demanded the kind of aircraft that should be flying into there.
You see, a low-cost carrier model can only work. It actually would thrive in this FTA arrangement, because it is so cost conscious that tipping it from making money or not making money is a very thin line.
Yes.
So it will thrive in this arrangement. But with the current, the way we are made now, the low-cost carriers will find they're either within a country or within a very short locality of a country.
Kenya, Tanzania.
Yes. But you imagine a scenario where now that goes away. Then Jumbo Jet can do Morocco, can do wherever. So because it's a model. It's a low cost model. Yes,
it's been commoditized.
Yes. So you know that if I book early, but I know if I change it, I lose my whole ticket. So you get in knowing what you're doing, but they are constrained by how low they can put their costs, given the macro environment they're operating in. Yes.
The tough terrain.
Yes, because especially the tariff environment they're operating in. So if you put that down, then now you level the field.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's talk single currency on one last chapter. Single currency, I know we touched a bit earlier on. The ECOWAS member countries have decided to come up with a single currency. They're calling it ECO. Yeah, ECO. Eco Bank, Eco Bank legend was an ECOWAS bank actually.
Yes.
So they've got a single currency called Eco. But there's a problem because the West African, the ECOWAS member states, about 8 of them were in the French, the Francophone zone, which they had a single currency. They're calling the CFA franc.
Yes.
I'm just wondering, and it's the CFA franc regime is honestly it's very prohibitive because the French, they say that because they've guaranteed a peg on the CFA franc to the euro, then they tell the member countries that you have to maintain X amount of reserves with the Banque de France. So you find that most of this, the French, the Francophone zone, they have to keep certain amount of reserves that's sitting with the Banque de France to guarantee the peg. Do you think, which is very prohibitive, and there's been growing calls as the population becomes more aware and aware, the population demand that they strip off that relationship. Do you think the launching the eco currency, essentially, would it be beneficial? Have they jumped the gun at ECOWAS member state?
You see, with the eco, the big question is, does it in any way answer the issues you've just raised? Does it, because see, it's symptomatic of when you try and jump any of these steps.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to build a currency on top of a layer that is not uniform.
Yeah.
And again, you cannot have your currency controlled by somebody else.
Yes.
Especially if you're a group of you.
Yeah.
And especially somebody who not necessarily have your interest at heart.
Yeah.
So I think they're at liberty to do what they're doing. But I think once the FTA, the free trade area takes traction, I think it will overtake that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Abraham.
Thank you
it's
very
nice
much.
having you. It's always nice having you.
Thank you very much.
Very insightful discussion,
Yes.
Abraham. That was Abraham Kamau, the CEO of Mirada Capital, taking us through the free trade area, the continental free trade area. Nigeria is about to join the continental free trade area in the upcoming AUC meet. Just something out to look out for. We'll keep you updated on that. And look out for the potential impacts of the free trade area into local economy and external position. That's it from us. We leave you with market close figures and see you on Monday. Have a nice weekend.